Following my bumpy platinum trophy ride through The Last Revelation, I had more than half of the core design era Tomb Raider plats in my possession. The only games left were Chronicles and The Angel of Darkness. Talk about bumpy. If The Angel of Darkness is the black sheep of the Tomb Raider series, then Chronicles is the red-headed stepchild. I was super excited nonetheless because I've got a soft spot for this game. At a first glance, the trophies of Tomb Raider Chronicles looked easier than those of the previous 4 games, but I knew better than to underestimate a trophy list at this point. I was still bracing myself for some pain. So I began my journey with one of Lara's earliest adventures, her search for the Philosopher's Stone in Rome. All roads lead to Rome, they say. I just hoped that this particular road would lead me to a beautiful platinum trophy. The first thing I had to do was not trophy related. No, I just had to get a look at Lara's dress on the gate because that's the sort of attention to detail I live for in these remasters. Bravi. I then went inside the nearby warehouse and got my first trophy upon completing Lara's training. I had a couple of different trophy challenges on hand on the streets of Rome. First, I needed to use 2 so-called mouths of truth within 16 seconds, which turned out to be really difficult as there was like no margin for error. It took me numerous attempts before I got it. What a horrid idea indeed. What were they thinking putting a trophy this hard so early in the game? The Bark Square trophy was a bit more manageable as it simply required Lara to kill 5 Doberman near the fountain. Some of these dogs needed to be lured to the fountain from far away, however, which was a bit of a pain in the ass. So I guess this confirms that Lara is a cat person. I also needed to do a handstand above the portal gate for a trophy, because why the hell not? Finally, in the bell tower, I got a trophy when I rolled under the battering ram and grabbed onto the ledge undamaged. For the purpose of unlocking the Tail Innocence trophy, I needed to complete the game without ever being hurt by rats, which was much easier said than done. Oh, rats! There was one particular encounter in Trajan's Market that really pissed me off because no matter what I did, I just couldn't get away from those rats. And despite all my rage, I was still just a twat in a cage. I eventually did it, but I wasted a good 10 minutes of my life on this bullshit. I truly appreciated when a different pack of rats got stuck in the wall later. I then moved on to the mechanical gladiator octopus and shut its eyes out with 2 shots in quick succession for a trophy. In the Colosseum, I had to kill all of the level's lions with Uzis for a trophy. The problem was that I didn't have them yet, so I first needed to make it all the way to that pickup spot before I could kill any lion. So much for Lara being a cat person. I got the Long Live the King trophy upon killing the 4th lion with Uzis, but I only barely had enough ammo for them. It was a good thing then that I didn't need the Uzis for my next trophy task, as I had to defeat the living statue with just pistols, and without taking damage. I'd say this was the 2nd most epic battle that's ever taken place at the Colosseum. I got the Codex of Rome trophy upon collecting the level's final secret, and upon collecting the Philosopher's Stone, I got the And So Ended the First of Many trophy. On Lara's search for the Spear of Destiny in Russia, I had 2 trophy challenges on hand right at the beginning of the first level, both involving the Claw! I needed to collect all 3 pickups in the warehouse before the Claw ever got to drop down on Lara. And the moment I got the trophy, I immediately went for the I'll Get You Next Time trophy and dodged the Claw 3 times. Outside in the snow, I got the Double Down trophy for killing both snipers without taking damage. I then had to, quote, get back on this poser for all his bullying. Let me explain. This fucker is clearly meant to resemble Duke Nukem, a colleague of Lara's who never wasted an opportunity to take cheap shots at her in his games.
You skanky outfit.
from insinuating a sleazy relationship between the two.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Laura, is that you?
Despite the fact that Lara is way out of Duke's league.
I got an itch only you can scratch.
Not now, Laura. I'm kinda busy. You'll have to use your own fingers.
To displaying Lara's rotting corpse, Duke had an ass-kicking coming for a very long time. This trophy was really easy. All I had to do was let the cutscene play out. You might say it was a...
Yeah, piece of cake.
I then had to complete the submarine level without using a single medipack. A daunting task on paper, but with a bit of caution and a bit of shotgun, I succeeded. For Lara's short deep-sea dive, there were 3 trophies on the line. First, I needed to dodge a torpedo from the submersible so it would hit the submarine. Then I needed to troll the submersible with chaff grenades 10 times to make it waste even more torpedoes. Finally, I needed to collect the level's only secret and the Spear of Destiny while keeping Lara's stress meter at 0. This was pretty difficult as it meant that she couldn't be hit by torpedoes first of all, but also that she couldn't touch anything. This made maneuvering inside the sunken submarine particularly nerve-wracking, so I was relieved when the trophy popped. In sinking submarine, I had to avoid fire and electric damage for the entire level for the Hell and High Water trophy. I also needed to grab the nitrogen canister before switching off the power, which meant that I had to do some awkward platforming to get it instead. Next I collected the final secret of the Russia chapter and got the Codex of... hold on, Zapatnaya Litsa trophy. I then got the hell out of the submarine and earned the usual chapter completion trophy, as well as the Hell and High Water trophy for having done it without being burned or shocked. Back to the 80s then, for young Lara's Spooky Island adventure. Lara was an incredible athlete even back then, as I got my first trophy in Ireland for performing a picture-perfect somersault dive into the well next to Gallows Tree. I then had to deal with rats again, in water this time, which meant that Lara was even more immobilized than before. Thankfully, this was the last level in the game to have those filthy rodents. Next, I had to throw my torch into the pit to check if the demon had been exorcised. It was, I think. For the purpose of unlocking the amusingly titled Impatience trophy, I had to complete Gallows Tree without being hurt by the creepy little imps in the level. The problem was that I also needed to witness all the hidden cutscenes of young Lara's failures in Ireland, including the imp ambush. Impush? See, I can do funny puns as well, game. Thankfully, that cutscene didn't void the Impatience trophy as I got it upon completing the level. As well as the Tail Innocence trophy. At the beginning of the Labyrinth level, I had to steer clear of all the ghost skeletons so I could unlock the Skeleton Pranks trophy upon banishing them with the bone dust. I then needed to finish the level's actual labyrinth in less than 25 seconds. What I did here was follow the wisp and memorize its path, then reload my save and follow that path as fast as I could to earn my trophy. Right at the beginning of Old Mill, I triggered another failure cutscene by getting acquainted with the Ireland chapter's main villain before collecting the chalk. Remastered Verdelet looked ready to join Michael Jackson on stage. I then threw a lit torch at the stupid imps nearby to earn the Animal Instinct trophy. Next, I made sure to get caught by the marrow beneath the level's eponymous mill to witness the third and final failure cutscene and get my trophy. Before attempting the speedrun for the Sleepy Marrow trophy, I made sure to climb out of the water to reset the hidden timer. I then used the game's photo mode to make sure that the marrow was inside its lair before jumping in again and grabbing the silver coin. Before leaving this wet, miserable island, I went and collected Old Mill's final secret for the Codex of Ireland trophy. I then reintroduced Verdelet to his own name so I could get my trophy for completing the Ireland chapter.
Verdelet!
How is this? I move to strike, and yet cannot!
I also got a trophy for having collected a secret earlier without turning off the fire obstacles first. If I had a nickel for every trophy that required Lara to be set on fire in these remasters, I would have 5 nickels. Not quite enough for Lara's skin graft surgery, but I'll get there, I'm sure. Onto the VCI headquarters chapter then, which I really didn't look forward to as these levels are infamously complicated and tough. Plus, they had a bunch of trophies that not only sounded difficult, but also contradicted each other. For example, the 13th floor level both had a trophy for completing it undetected, and a trophy for collecting all of its secrets, which isn't possible without being detected. Add to that each of these trophies excluded certain other trophies. The Mission Impossible trophy, for example, would prevent me from collecting all of the remaining pickups in the game, whereas the other trophy where was I? Oh, right, my cake recipe. Okay, so you need. I decided to go for the Mission Impossible trophy on this playthrough, which meant I could also get my hands on the Nailed It trophy. I chose to do it this way because I figured that collecting all pickups would be more useful on my New Game Plus playthrough. To get that wretched Mission Impossible trophy, I had to be very careful whenever there were guards nearby. I was conflicted about what to do with the sleeping guard, but I eventually decided to make his sleep permanent. Hey, he might have become a problem later, so I wasn't gonna take any chances. For the 2 guards chatting in the hallway, I needed to be lightning fast, and I needed to be even faster than that when dealing with this super guard in the corridor. All this hassle eventually paid off when I completed the level, but this was a pretty difficult challenge. In the next level, I got a trophy for putting in Lara's birth date on the restroom keypad. Nice. Since Chronicles is a very lateral game compared to past Tomb Raider games, I had really struggled finding a spot where Lara could pull out a triple somersault dive to unlock the 3010 trophy. The elevator shaft in Escape with the Iris seemed high enough, but surely that would kill Lara, right? Didn't matter, apparently. I then chloroformed the guard outside the elevator and collected his medipack for a trophy that celebrated the fact that this medipack no longer is unobtainable. Much later, I had to collect the teleport disc before the VCI security cut open the door, which meant I had to be very fast. Slowly, or Lara would be machine gunned to death. Thankfully, I still remembered which box had the disc. In the game's final level, Red Alert, I got rewarded with the War Terminator trophy upon exposing the first cyborg to water, and then I got the brilliantly titled Miss Croft trophy for dodging all helicopter bullets. I swear, that's the best titled trophy yet in all these remasters. To end this trifecta of amusingly titled trophies, I earned the Gasassin trophy upon killing the second cyborg inside the gas chamber. I then went and finished Tomb Raider Chronicles Remastered and got my trophy. Since I only had 5 trophies left at this point and they all were tied to the game's final chapter, I won't bore you with the details of most of my New Game Plus playthrough. It was cruel, but it didn't become truly evil until the last chapter anyway, so let's pick up from there. It turned out to be a good thing that I did the Mission Impossible trophy on my first playthrough, since it wasn't even possible to do it on New Game Plus. There was no hammer shortcut here, instead Lara got dumped straight down to the super guard below. Likewise, the sleeping guard woke up the moment Lara grabbed his keycard, and so did a turret for good measure. This effectively made it impossible to gain access to the pickups next door, as the card reader was in the turret's firing line, and I did not have enough medipacks to keep Lara alive. You see, on New Game Plus in this game, you only get medipacks for finding secrets, and since this level only has 1 secret before this encounter, I was SOL. And you know what that means. If only medipacks carried over between chapters in this game like they do in the other Tomb Raider games. But I get it, Chronicles is an anthology, so yeah. But still. This bullshit of course meant that I couldn't earn the Hoarding Order trophy on my New Game Plus playthrough either. I did get the Dodge This trophy, however, despite the fact that I most certainly didn't one-hit kill any of these buffed New Game Plus guards, and I'm also certain that I didn't kill all 5 within 20 seconds, but hey, I'm not complaining. And I got another trophy right after that for having collected all of the 13th floor secrets without being hurt by lasers. All I had left to do was finish this godforsaken New Game Plus playthrough, but that was easier said than done. After having dealt with guards, turrets, cyborgs, and a helicopter in red alert, my medipack stock had reached 0, which meant that I couldn't heal Lara before the gas chamber. Thankfully, there was still one secret left to collect, so I raced against her rapidly depleting health bar to get its medipacks, and the Codex of VCI trophy. I then stumbled my way to the exit to finish New Game Plus and earn my trophy. No, I still needed to collect the remaining pickups. So I loaded up my pre-hammer shortcut save from my first playthrough.
My name's Duke Nukem. You wanna dance?
Thank you so much for watching. Take care.